Vi är här i Abu Dhabi på Jazz Acres för att titta närmare på det nya Align Max-greppet. Och bredvid mig här har jag Robert Rock, en väldigt skönsvingande herre som också är en otroligt grym tränare. Så jag tänkte att vi skulle snacka lite med honom om vikten av ett bra grepp. So Robert, I mean, you could never like underestimate the importance of a good grip, I guess.
No, it's an absolute must-have if you want to achieve any sort of consistency in the game. It takes time to learn sometimes from the start. But it will give you the awareness and the reliability of club face delivery, which is what's lacking in a lot of sort of higher handicap golfers, let's say, that don't have the feel for the club face.
No.
By having a good grip, you can automatically assure that the club face comes back more square than what it would do, right?
Yeah.
Even without loads of practice. So building the grip is an absolute must, and making sure that you can feel the club face in how you build the grip, and getting the club face square at the setup, and making sure you can reliably set up to the same over and over and over again, because we want to be able to just learn one swing.
Exactly, we want to square up. That's an elementary foundation, and one thing that might help us on that journey is the Align grips, and now the new version, the Align Max. And you played this for a while.
Yep, I played the Align grip when it came out a few years ago, and now we're on the Align Max, which is just a more pronounced version, which is easier for you to actually feel the rib down the back of the club. Now that is what gives you the sensation of where the square club face is. And I've tested it versus a purely round grip, and without looking at the club face, with an Align, I can actually feel the square club face reference my grip. See, I practice more than most people, but I can feel the balance of a square grip through the Align Max at the back, which is harder to do with a round grip, and a round grip takes a lot more practice, and you have to check the club face more to actually be able to do it consistently and then build your setup consistently.
So if we want to start from a neutral setup, please show us an easy way to square up. Right,
so you got to practice building your grip basically without hitting shots, learning how to put your hands on the club, how to keep checking this club face is square, because a lot of people like to toe that club face in, right? Some people like to lean the shaft too far forwards to actually adjust a club face that's not actually sitting right. So most important thing is to have the club facing you with the loft that it's designed to have, right? We don't want to de-loft and we don't want to add. And the easiest way to start with a faulty grip is by having the club sitting in the wrong position in the first place. So it needs to be pointing straight back, straight up as much as you can. Very, very slightly forward is okay, but nowhere near like getting your hands well in front of the ball. Then it's easier to take a neutral grip. Now I like to feel the Align Max in the fingertips of the right hand, and you'll see it sitting through mostly the fingers of both hands. And then certainly in that particular area of the right forefinger is a key feel for me, and also the two middle fingers of the right hand is where I get the most sensation of the rib on the back of the grip. Now that also helps bring the club face back square at impact reliably, but it also helps when we're pushing against the side of the club. So if we've got the hand too high, we might twist, and the hands might come actually off the grip a little bit and separate at impact. And when you've got the hands too much underneath, we're prone to turning the club face over. So having that pressure through that reference point of the Align Max on the forefinger helps get us the right hand on the side of the club, so the actual palm of the hand is pushing squarely through, as if it was a flat object and we were slamming a hand against it.
Oh yeah.
That's what helps when you're talking in finer detail about your exit points on the way through and making sure you release the club properly, rather than some that might be twisting or trying to use your hands too much. So having a secure grip at the start is essential.
Yeah.
But it's purely about club face. Right? Club face is everything to get consistent shot shapes.
Yeah, and your general thoughts about grip pressure then?
It should be firm enough that we don't get any separating of the hands. So I don't personally like any gaps or loosening of the fingers during the swing, because it gives you sloppy positions at the top where you might get a gap under there, or you might start to separate the hands in two. And when that happens, you've lost control of the club.
Yeah.
And you've lost your feeling of the club face.
And one of the reference points for a healthy grip is on top of the backswing. What do we want to experience there?
Right, so at the top of the backswing, we want to have a secure, balanced position where you can feel the club face in your right hand.
Yeah.
And also the grip prevents us going too far back. Now, when the grip gets a little bit loose and we lose all of the connection at the top, that's when you will start to let the club slip at the top, and a lot of people overswing, and because of that reason, it's a faulty grip. Then you have to reattach, and you might not get the same relationship back into the club face. So it's essential that the grip pressure it's firm enough in both hands, but it doesn't extend all the way up the arms. So it should be tight enough that I've got a solid unit where you don't really see any gaps, like I'm not separating the fingers too much on the grip, or I'm not having gaps there. So it's a solid unit throughout, and especially this zone. That's really important, I think, for the top of the backswing. But it doesn't mean that we're setting up that tight that our arms get locked. Right? So we need a good relationship with the grip and the club face, and you need good grips for that.
Yeah.
Right? You've got to have new grips, because if they're a bit shiny, you hold on a bit tighter than you need to. But we also need the awareness of the club face, and then
definitely, yeah. And I mean, well, grip pressure beside then, I mean, is there any other way that a bad grip could rob us of some potential speed?
Yeah, I think the bad grip, actually having once it starts to separate, right, then you're not able to sort of translate all your power.
Also, you lose the lever.
You lose your leverage, especially when the grip separates and your arms start to bend too much.
Yeah.
Right. This should be a solid unit at the top. It should be set at the address position, and then we have just minimal movement in the wrist, slight flexion of the right arm to a really solid position at the top where the right hand has got the club balanced. Then when you put all the power in, you've got a solid unit coming down.
Yeah.
And especially coming into the ball, we want this right hand sitting on the side of the shaft, so that when we're trying to bend the shaft coming into the ball, right? You can only do it if your grip's correct.
Yeah.
If you've got it too much like that, you're having to use your hands too much coming in, and if you're too much underneath, you actually can't let your arms do anything in fear of the club face turning over.
Yeah, so that's the organic way of receiving a healthy amount of forward press.
Yeah, by getting the right hand set properly. Now there is leeway in the grip, right? It's not every grip has to be perfectly in a neutral position. There's lots of professionals that you see with very, very slightly stronger right hands or stronger left hands, but they all have this relationship with the pressure point on the forefinger of the right hand that actually keeps control of the club. Now, whether the club is slightly more closed at the top or whether it's slightly more open, they're feeling that awareness on the way down to help manage the club face on the way through.
Yeah.
So you get a consistent closing rate of the club face. We don't want to come in and really have to square it up very quickly or late.
These kind of alignment grip, they don't only benefit players with the neutral grip.
Yeah, because it's a ridge down the back of the club shaft that is parallel and in line with the leading edge, so you'll get your own reference to it. So if you've got a slightly stronger grip, you will feel it in a slightly different place of the hand, but it will still be there. So that is your reference to square, rather than having nothing there. And especially when you get to the top, you'll be able to feel where the club face is, and it makes it much easier building your grip the same every time. If you've got the Align Max ridge, some people might like to have them slightly offset, right? But it's a consistent hand placement that we want to be able to build our setup the same every single time.
if we have a look at your game, I mean, do you change your grip a bit when it comes to like bunker shots or short game shots?
That's a good question. Yeah, it's a good question. I do a very subtle change in my grip for bunker shots and some pitch shots, and I think most pros do that. A lot would have just a very, very slightly weaker right hand. Some have a weaker left, but generally some would go just a tiny little bit more weaker with the right hand and feel actually the ridge more into the fingertips, just so you can actually play with the club face a little bit and help. The last thing you want on lots of pitch shots and bunker shots is the club face closing a lot. So when you and sometimes we're playing it with a bit more loft as well, so you can feel the right hand a little bit more on top, and that'll allow just a little bit of feel in the right hand coming through without the fear of turning the face over.
Winter season, that's no excuse, I mean, for not working on your grip.
Absolutely, I know how awkward it is when you change your grip, and I've always done that. If I've felt the need to change my grip or my grip's changed somewhat, it's always been done in time, not hitting balls. Because the sooner you can make it feel comfortable, the better. So mine will have been done at home, or practice swinging, or hitting balls into a net, or just picking a club up at home and just getting familiar with what I want to change. Because as soon as we set up over the ball, the idea of having everything consistent is that we're comfortable.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to be when you're setting up to hit a shot is start second guessing your grip. That's where the doubts come in, and doubts are a massive killer in all sorts of golf shots. So we have to have a clear plan, and it has to start with building your grip first. So that should always be done at home, practice swings, practice area, hit it into a net, and then when you pull the club out of the bag, it should be automatic.
Yeah.
And that's the benefit of that, really, is that you can feel the club face. I can look at my hands here, reference the Golfprides, and I know the club face is square even before I look up. So,
yeah, as you say, automatic. How do you work it into your pre-shot routine in a good way?
It's making sure that your grip is established before you step in. So as soon as you pull the club out of the bag, while you're picturing your shot and planning your alignment and planning the whole thing out and picturing you playing the shot and the swing moves you're trying to do, the grip's done here. Right, I'm comfortable now. It took me just a couple of adjustments. Now it's set and ready, and only then will I walk in. I wouldn't be walking in trying to still feel the club face. I'd be set here, knowing that the club, having a little waggle, knowing that the tension hasn't creeped all the way up my arms. My hands and wrists can still move, but I'm comfortable with my grip. And then you move in to hitting the shot in the same manner, so that every shot can be hit the same. I don't want to delay when I'm over the ball, because freezing over the ball ruins most shots.
Yeah, I know that feeling. All right, Robert, good stuff.
Yeah,
Thank you very much for your time, man.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.